Matty Fresh on the track up at State. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate, Tequila Ty, JNelly and Dylan in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and ballin' like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
And welcome back to Booze, Bets, and Ball. We have a lot to get into today because we did not do an Indiana game recap. We're just kind of meshing them all together today. But before we get to that, we have to get our guy on here quick to give us what he's got for the week. So we're going to bring on Justin. Let me get this up.
Right. Oh, look at that. I would move the text box all the way onto the black.
Dude, I don't know what happened. It looked good in the moment, but
it's the platform. It like squishes the slides. Yeah.
I mean, I was just putting the MVP of the game on there, but
that's really good.
Nice job.
Look at that hold on Mitch Tinsley.
Yeah, that's a nice hold right there on the shoulder pad. All right, let's get into it. What do you got?
All right, so I got a lot of bets here, but first bet is number 4 TCU at number 18 Texas. I've been on TCU like this whole year, like riding them, loving them, betting on them, but I think Texas is actually going to pull out the dub and kill them. Texas has been playing better. They beat Kansas State. I think they're going to start changing the culture, hopefully. They're starting to get all these recruits, too, so I think they'll blow out TCU. TCU's played no one, and then was lost to Texas Tech, and their defense is terrible. They were getting railed by Texas Tech, so I think they might get killed by Texas. And then
can I just make one comment? The recruits that are coming in that aren't on the team yet aren't going to help.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but like, the culture is changing. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I do.
If you go by the ESPN Power Index, Texas is actually a really heavy favorite in this game. 73% chance to win. So
I almost went to this game. Turned down free tickets.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, and then for my second game, I got number 15 UNC at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is coming off some bad games. Hartman hasn't been playing well. I think UNC with Downs and Drake May, pretty crazy. They're playing really well this year, and UNC is not even favored in this game. So I think plus 3.5 is the safest bet you can do. I don't know if they're gonna. I think they'll win outright, but I just like the 3.5, just the like automatic win.
Okay.
And then number 19 Kansas State at Baylor. This is like my upset of the week. Actually not Oklahoma WVU, but this is like an upset, I guess. Kansas State's going into Baylor with points and plus 108 money line. Baylor's been like terrible against top 25 teams at home or away, so I don't really know why they're favored. And I like Kansas State, even though they lost to Texas last week. I think they come back and beat Baylor here. And then Washington at Oregon. This is my lock of the week. Oregon's been killing a lot of people after their bad loss against Georgia. They look really solid, and they're going to have to play really good against Washington and keep beating teams if they want to make the playoffs. So I think they're going to come out with a statement and beat Washington.
I see that, yeah.
All right, and then Maryland at Penn State. I wanted to take Penn State points, but with all these injuries, which you guys are going to talk about, I think money line's the safest bet. I don't know for sure we'll cover. I think it's 10.5.
Yeah, it's gone down. It started at 13.5, I think. Yeah, 14, 13.5. Yeah, so that I guess the injuries are playing the role there, or there's just a lot of money going on Penn State, I think. But
yeah. And then this is a big game, Bama versus Ole Miss. I mean, Bama's coming off 2 tough losses. And Ole Miss, I think, only has 1 loss in the season right now. If they beat Bama, they still have a chance if they can somehow win the SEC. So, but I think Bama, after 2 tough losses, Bryce Young and Will Anderson definitely don't want to go out like that. I think they make a statement again and kill Ole Miss at 12. I think the atmosphere won't be that great there that early. Just like for us versus like Ohio State. It took like a lot of students like a while to get there at first, I thought. That could factor into it. And then Louisville at Clemson. I'm taking Clemson money line just because Clemson's been playing terrible recently. But Dabo still says DJ's their starting quarterback, which makes no sense to me, even when he keeps playing bad. I think they need to make the switch to Cade, which I think they will do in this game after DJ plays bad because Louisville's been playing very well. They killed Wake Forest at home. So I'm taking Clemson, but I think it's going to be close. And then Oklahoma at West Virginia is my upset of the week. West Virginia's plus 7.5 and plus 260. West Virginia is not that great of a team, but Oklahoma's not either. And I just like West Virginia. This is purely just off like my sister going there, and they've always covered for me. So, and Oklahoma's also not that good, and West Virginia is not a bad team. And Neil Brown needs to win this game.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't, he's out of there. So I'm giving him the W.
Thought he got fired.
Did he?
Now I mean, there was a lot of rumors, but it never happened actually. Look, I think he's gone either way. I think this just comes down to how many weeks he makes it, and I guess winning will prolong this. But they already have like 6 losses, don't they? 4, 5, or 6. So like, I don't see a way. This is like his 4th year too, and I don't think they've won more than 7 games. So they're honestly taking a step backwards.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure if he makes it through the year either way, but definitely will be a little more desperate this week because it is on a week-to-week basis. It feels like.
Go back. So you're a Penn State fan. You want Washington to beat Oregon just for bowl stuff, right? You want Clemson to lose, and then Alabama, Ole Miss. Neither of those teams really can win the SEC West because Ole Miss lost to LSU, and LSU is not going to lose for the rest of the season. So, who do you got? Who should we root for in that one?
I don't know if that matters because one's just going to take the spot of the other.
I guess.
One's out of the picture, but then the other one moves up. So
Ole Miss could lose the Egg Bowl, I suppose, right? Like they could lose to Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the rest of their schedules to get that, but
I agree with Ty. But then they go. So then, if they go 11-1, Tennessee goes 11-1, Georgia goes undefeated. Then LSU is 9-3 too, I guess, or 10-3. So maybe they don't make a New Year's Six bowl. A lot of things.
Yeah, I know. I feel like the SEC is still going to beat up on each other a little bit, and the same with the Pac-12 as well. I still think there's a pretty good path for Penn State there, just because
there are 4 Pac-12 teams ranked ahead of Penn State right now is insane. That
is nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
UCLA, Oregon, USC is not even playing good this year. Like they're still high, but they're barely beating teams. I swear.
Yeah, well, Oregon and Utah still have to play, so the loser of that is probably, especially if it's Utah, is out of the picture.
Yeah.
And then UCLA and USC still have to play, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of a round robin, South and North, I guess, to determine who makes the Rose Bowl. At least, I guess. No. USC only has 1 loss. Oregon has 1 loss. UCLA has 1 loss.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I still think there's a lot of games that has to be played, especially because a lot of those teams are still playing each other. Yeah. We haven't gotten to that point yet, so I think it's a little early to freak out one way or the other about that.
I suppose.
Yeah.
But if the playoffs ended up Georgia, Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State, that would be incredible. Like 2 rematch games or something, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. All right, now we're gonna let you go. I know you got some things to do, so thanks for this. We'll maybe parlay them this weekend. We'll see.
I don't know about that. Not saying I'll just do straight bets, but
all right,
they're all good. So
all right, sounds good. All right, we'll see you later. Always fun. All right, now back to this past weekend's game. So 45.
He's there.
All right. Yeah. 45-14, pretty much. He's on his phone. Pretty much what we expected.
Sorry, I didn't know I was getting this early.
Oh, Nate wanted to bring you in, but it's
Yeah,
okay.
because apparently it's better when you're here and I'm not. So as you told me,
he did say that. Yeah, but I mean, it pretty much went how we expected it to go, I guess. Get up early, put in Aller, which is what I've been telling people is going to be what happens these next few weeks. He's not going to start. I don't see that at all, especially with the offensive line problems. I don't see them risking him too much for the point where it can get bad. I just think they're going to be safe with him, still get him his time and not try to get him killed, which is totally fine. Not that, you want Clifford to get killed, but I think I don't know, a little more expendable.
The experience, but then
I mean,
like he has the experience to do things right and
yeah,
see pressure's coming a little better and stuff probably than Aller does.
I think the big story though coming out of this was the way the running backs played. Katron Allen pretty much is the starting running back now, which I don't think anyone really expected at the beginning of the year. But I think this kind of shows the difference of when you recruit Southern recruits and stuff. Like he went to IMG Academy, which is equivalent to maybe like a D3 college. Like I think that team could beat some D3, D2 colleges maybe. And when you play that kind of schedule and you play with everyone else's D1 on your team, you're going to be more ready for college than a kid who, no offense to Governor Mifflin, but the kids they play in that region and stuff, not the same level of competition. And I think you're just kind of seeing that maybe Singleton has more talent in him, but Allen just more ready to go because of that high school experience.
Yeah. They'd finish middle of the pack in the PSAC, I think IMG would, right? Like that's a legit football team.
Yeah, it's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did an analysis of the running backs this week on forthebloggy.com. And it's amazing because I compared them to Saquon through the first 9 games of all of 3 of their careers. They have almost exactly the same amount of carries. It ranges from 108 to 112 for the 3 of them. Katron Allen has the lowest yards per carry at 5.2, but he also has the fewest negative rushes. So he only goes negative on 2.7% of all carries, and Saquon was 9% and Singleton 7%. Like, so he gives you that element of he's never going backwards, which is really important and something that with the big breaker guys you tend to miss, right? And he keeps you ahead of the chains, or at least on schedule every carry he gets the ball, which is really valuable, and especially as a freshman being able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's why they are kind of going with him more to start games and finish games, and then Singleton's kind of in the middle there, trying to get a big play here or there. And I think they're finally figuring out that the game plan for the 2 of them is different. Allen, you could run between the tackles, and that Singleton. It was Allen the one that took the little dump off like 56 yards or whatever it was. But, Singleton is more the outside zone, the screens, the sweeps, that kind of stuff. And I think the pitches, I think they're figuring out that the 2 of them are different and they're game planning accordingly, which is good to see.
It is. It's great. And yeah, he had, I don't know, like 70 yards receiving or something like that. And Sean Clifford threw the ball 1 foot and then like 20 yards laterally, and that's the 2 throws, right? So that's really good. And I think, I don't know, like he is what Kevon Lee was kind of as a freshman, right? And we just have to hope
way more dynamic.
He is more dynamic, but like yards per carry, I'd be curious where Kevon Lee was there. Like he was going forward, he was not getting negative yards, and he probably broke fewer than Katron Allen does. So yeah, you're right about that. So don't get fat next year over the winter, Katron.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about him. He shedded a lot of weight, though. They said, I think when he got in here, they're kind of getting to the point where he's just like more muscle mass at this point. I mean, and the both of them too, because I said this. I think Singleton needs to get maybe a little stronger in the lower half, because there were so many times on Saturday during that game where I was watching a play and it's like he falls and it's 4 yards, and I'm like, if he doesn't fall, like I've seen him outrun SEC defensive backs, like the guys from Indiana don't have a chance, and he's just kind of getting tripped up first sign of contact. So I think he gets a little stronger too. Those runs that are going for 4 yards are going to be 24, 25 next year.
Yeah, I think so. He's going to have likely the development that Saquon did between years 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's nice that they just kind of have Allen that's more of like a safety net. Like, you know what you're going to get. Maybe not the highest ceiling guy in the world, but the floor is so incredibly high that he's worth playing at this point, which is it's good to have guys like that too.
Next year, this offense is going to be incredibly good. As long as everybody's coming back. I'm just looking. So, yeah, like Noah Kane, his freshman year, had 84 attempts for the whole season and 5.3 yards per carry in 2019. So, yeah, Tyler. And then Kevon Lee in 2020 was like 4.9 yards a carry. So, yeah, Tyler was right. These two are far and away better than any freshman since Saquon, which is saying a lot.
They complement each other so well,
They
too.
do, yeah. And now you're getting guys catching balls a little better, right? The tight ends are making plays fairly consistently every week. Parker Washington, Mitch Tinsley can't come back. Parker can. But then now you're getting some of the freshmen stepping up, too, and making some catches. Touchdown this week from Harrison Wallace, I guess, yeah? Or the Omari Evans. Which one?
I was Wallace. Wallace caught the touchdown.
So I don't know, and we'll see what happens on the line. But you're getting freshmen playing. We'll talk about that and why they are now. But the offense is going to be very hyped going into the next season.
Yeah, and really quick, I guess before we move off this game, it was a Manny Diaz type defensive day where they gave up some yards at times, but I think 6 sacks. 3 turnovers. That's kind of what he's going for. The starters only gave up 7 points. I mean, Indiana scored a touchdown on like the walk-ons late in the game, but very, what we've come to expect, I guess, after a couple of weeks of not getting that against Michigan and Ohio State, kind of back to what we saw. I think Indiana's line was pretty bad, but I thought they played pretty well considering.
Who did?
The defense.
Good. I thought you meant No,
Indiana. Not Indiana. Not Indiana.
Yeah, Penn State jumped to the top of the conference in tackles for loss with their 16 TFL performance this game, right? So they were averaging only 6 before that, which is actually pretty low. It should be 9, I think, give or take, is average. So yeah, it was one of the funnier defensive games, just because Indiana couldn't do anything except when the quarterback had a couple of scrambles early in the game before he had his shoulder separated and broken forever. So
yeah, that didn't look good. That's the one thing though, and it was a problem with TJ Finley of Auburn too, where they kind of lost gap discipline at times in the middle of the line, and I don't know how much Tulia is gonna run this week with his knee injury. But I think he's a guy that could take off if they give him the opportunity to. So I think they need to be a little careful there again. That's the one thing I'd say about the defense is kind of to clean up is keep the quarterback contained a little better.
Yeah, that you're right. It's been a problem. And CJ Stroud even had a couple of runs, and I think he quadruples his season rushing total in that game just with 2 or 3 runs. So that's one that. But maybe TJ Finley, I don't think they had a lot of. They didn't have a lot of fear in his passing game, right? The Indiana, I don't think they had a lot of fear in their passing game. So they'll likely respect Tulia a hell of a lot more. And, I don't know, they maybe not rush upfield as much, right? And played a little more conservatively on the defensive line, blitz fewer times. Tulia is 51 carries for 96 yards right now. I don't know how many sacks he's had, but not a real running.
I looked it up. They're pretty bad in the sack department. I think they were ranked 86th in the country. They've given up 20 something, I think 26, 28, somewhere around there. I did have that pulled up. I lost
Wisconsin,
but
Wisconsin crushed them this past week in sacks. I mean, that was.
Yeah, Wisconsin benefited from the weather too, but they kind of put out the blueprint of how to beat this Maryland team, and it's be more physical than them. Quite honestly, like run the ball. Wisconsin had 2 guys go over 100 yards rushing. Penn State obviously has the 2 guys we just talked about can do that. And I think that's kind of what they need to go to. I know, Penn State wants to be a team that throws the ball like to the extent Ohio State does. But I think this week you just run the ball until they proved they can stop it because they didn't stop it last week, and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, Maryland did not look good last week at all against Wisconsin. They did not throw the ball well. I think Tulia was like 10 of 26 for 77 yards and an interception and a touchdown or something along those lines. It was not his best effort, but that's kind of something I've noticed from him is his stats look good at the end of the year, but it seems to always be against the first 4 or 5 games of the year when they're playing Howard. It's kind of what I've noticed. So yeah, 10 of 23 for 77 yards, touchdown, interception. So not, I don't. This was a Wisconsin team that a lot of people picked to lose this game, and they kind of crushed Maryland in this one.
Maryland's defense is giving up 3.8 yards per carry, 137 yards total. They're actually very similar rushing defense to Penn State. Now Penn State's Maryland has played Michigan. They played Ohio. They played Ohio State yet too, or no?
No, they play them the following week.
So Penn State's played a couple of better rushing offenses, but I don't know. This is the blueprint for Maryland every year. Is they start out hot, then they tend to lose discipline. They don't have that culture to keep it going for a full season. I bet if you look at their penalties and turnovers through the year, it gets worse as the season goes. They are dead last in the conference in penalties. Like it's just they're a very loosely run program, I think, right? And this always catches up with them. You're better off getting them later in the year because the later in the year, the worse they are.
Yeah, they're we always talk about Penn State getting derailed after one loss. Maryland takes that to the extreme. And, part of that is because they play the harder part of the schedule. Teams are better than them, but it does seem like the wheels fall off after the out-of-conference slate for Maryland every year.
Yeah, last year, I guess it was against Iowa, right, I think? Or
yeah.
They had like 7 interceptions or something like that. But they're averaging 8 penalties a game. Penn State's 5.5. The best is Minnesota at 4. Turnover margin, I bet Maryland is in the bottom 2 or 3. They are they're middle of the pack. So they're actually 0.3 positive turnover margin. So not terrible there, but not great either. If Penn State's healthy, they win this game going away, I think. But
yeah, I think the problem is right? we know they're not healthy, I guess. The offensive line especially. They went through this past week without Oliwolf Fashanu. Landon Tangwell's out for the year. Wormley's been banged up. Wallace was out. And, Drew Shelton
was hurt too, right?
Yeah, he was banged up, but he played. Drew Shelton played pretty good for a true freshman starting a game he played left tackle in this one, I think so, yeah. And then Franklin talks about, we don't want to burn his red shirt, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he played 3 games, so he could play one more. I don't know if they have a plan then for him to play. They wanted him to play against Rutgers or something, but I think you need to adjust your plans to just make sure you get by this week. Put your best guys out there, the guys you think are going to give you the best chance to win. Because I know he doesn't want to lose to Maryland for the second time in 3 years. So I don't know. The offensive line, they got away with it just because I thought Indiana had a terrible pass rush. It was their front 7 was pretty bad. Maryland's, I don't think it's great, but it's not, it's not horrible. So they're going to be a little more tested this week. You're not getting Tangwell back. He's out for the year. I think if they could just find a way to make Fashanu the only guy that's out, you'll take that as a win if Wallace can get back out there, and then you have Wormley and Norzad at the guards. I think you feel good. That's just kind of my one concern is if 2 or 3 of those guys are out, then it's going to be a little harder to piece together.
This way, at least you have guys who have played, right? And I think on Twitter just before this, I saw a verified account. So definitely a good source. They said that Wallace should be back, and then that moves Effner to left tackle, I think, to keep Shelton's red shirt, which he's played 0 snaps at left tackle. So that's a little sketchy, but we'll see how that, at least he's played, right? And you're better doing that, and especially if you want to keep Shelton's red shirt. But also, if Shelton's as good as everybody thinks, he'll be gone after 3 years anyway. So I don't know why preserving that is such an important thing. But.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the chances of guys.
What's
staying
Fashano?
fit-
Fashano's 19 years old and he's a
Yeah,
red shirt. What year? What class was he? 2020.
he's technically a redshirt sophomore.
So 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, that's Drew Shelton in 2 years from now, right? So
right. It could be. Yeah.
It's more of a way to like help the player out though, because let's say he has 2 season-ending injuries and he might need that 5th year.
That's true too. But then you get a medical, can't you? Like even if you go over, I think.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a weird thing, but this way there's no have to like jump through hoops to get him back.
Yeah.
Only played in 3 so far this season. Why rush him if they don't have to? Like I think Franklin at this point is going to go 10-0 or 10-2 no matter what. Like that's his goals. So if he has to play him, he will. But if he's able to save it, why not?
Yeah, that's fair.
And we'll see. If he goes to Effner and he struggles, he might have to go to Shelton. So maybe it's the wiser thing to start Effner, and then if it doesn't go well, then you say, okay, well, I have to screw this red shirt. I have to win this game. So, I that's probably the best way to go, and I guess that is the way he's going to go. So, I guess that's really my one concern for this offense right now, because I thought, since the end of the Michigan game, they've looked pretty good. It's 45, 31, 45 or something like that the past 3 weeks. I mean, they've played pretty well, and they scored 31 points and the quarterback turned the ball over 4 times too. So that was a pretty good effort when you think about that. So I like the way the offense looks right now. Theo Johnson getting more involved. They're finding ways to get to the receivers a little quicker. Mm-hmm. I noticed the routes seem to be a little shorter, especially this past week against Indiana. It looked like a lot of stuff was dumbed down to just get the ball in Tinsley and Washington's hands. Let them do it. Let's stop try to do it for them. They can do it on their own, it seems like. So I like that. They're finding, ways to get a little more creative, but also dumbing it down just to the point where we know we have better athletes than these other teams. So let's just get them the ball as easily as possible.
That's the other thing you could do too. You could bring in 2 tight ends, right, to protect some of that line weakness that you might have right now if you don't want to play Shelton. Mm-hmm. So and just run the ball a little bit more. So there's ways around this.
Yeah.
The offense is really good, and they should be 8-1 right now. So
I mean, we'll see. So just on defense, then, really quick, doesn't look like they'll have Curtis Jacobs, the linebacker from Maryland. He had been moving back to Sam to let Abdul Carter play the will. So I mean, Abdul Carter's still going to be out there, and then Kobe King looked pretty good last week. Mm-hmm. I know it's Indiana. Look, their guys are slow. Their guys are not Ohio State or Michigan, like the teams we want to compare these guys to. But I mean, he looked pretty good. I think he led the team in tackles, 8.5 or something like that last week. So if he plays the Mike, that's fine. And then the Sam, whatever you figure out there with Sutherland and DeLuca, I mean, do it. I don't know. I think Maryland's a pass-first team, so you could maybe take them off the field and bring in another defensive back more often. I guess there's ways around this like they were doing early in the year. Just go back to that, I guess. So Jacobs is a loss, but I think it's one they could work around a little easier than others.
Well, they also Elsden's out too, and maybe in a pass first offense, that's not the worst thing in the world. Or he wasn't around today, but Roman Hemby is really good back. Antoine Littleton is also pretty good at getting fewer carries, only 53 carries, but 6. They're both over or about 6 yards a carry. So they don't run that often, but you have to be able to stop it because the skill players on Maryland are, they're up there with Penn State's and top of the conference kind of athletes at least. So
you have the one thing is
a bunch of slow white guys out there, right? And expect to stop that.
The one thing, Raheem Jarrett, game time decision for Maryland. They're I guess number 1 receiver this year. Those guys are not putting up the numbers that I think a lot of people expected from that group this year for Maryland. A little underwhelming from what I've seen, and he's been the best one this year. So if he's out, you trust that secondary, that Penn State secondary against what they have left. I mean, he's at 34 catches, 376 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then Copeland has 21 catches and Demas has only 14 as he's been working his way back from that injury last year. So they have a lot. They go to a lot of guys, but there's not a number one on this team. It looks like it just seems like, they have 4 guys over 300 receiving yards, which is, that's an impressive number, I guess, at this point of the year, but no one has more than 34 catches on this team. So the ball's going all over the place. It does make it a little hard to game plan for, but I think you just trust the defense backs of Penn State against whoever Maryland is putting out there at receiver.
They have 6 guys who have double-digit receptions and 10 yards of reception, though, too. So and the last time Raheem Jarrett was in Beaver Stadium, he had like 3 touchdowns and 400 yards or something like that, right? So he has done it against us. And they did not have Joey Porter who at what he is now either. No. So, and the secondary wasn't as good back then, and it was on the midst of that big slide, but still, he's done it before with Tualia as the quarterback. So, but no.
Yeah, no, I really think this just comes down to, I know Chop Robinson probably wants to have a big day. It comes down to them getting in the face of Tualia like Wisconsin did and just making his life hell from the start because he is banged up. I don't think that knee's 100% and obviously took a beating this past week. So if they just keep hitting him, I think they can make it a long day for the Maryland offense. And I think that's the main thing they have to do. Does that mean they blitz more? Maybe without Jacobs, it's not as easy to blitz. Obviously, you could still bring Carter, but I think they like to bring the 2 of them at the same time if they could. So a little in between there. The line 10, I don't know, like 31-21, I guess, is kind of what we're looking at, somewhere in there. I could see that. I don't know. If the offensive line injuries weren't a thing, I wouldn't be the least concerned. But, there's a little bit of, not doubt, but, a little concern now, I would say, for this game.
You can't look past, right?
No.
You can't look past them. 10's the line. I don't know. I think the offense gets it done one way or the other, and it's, call it 35-17, something like that. I think, even missing Jacobs and with Maryland giving up a lot of sacks, giving up a lot of pressure, I think that continues. And Tualia is not 100%. Like you said, the receivers aren't maybe what they should be. So, maybe they throw for only like 250 yards or something like that. And Penn State holds them with really good red zone defense as they've done all year. So let's call it that. Let's call it an 18-point victory.
Yeah. I mean, this game could go. I feel like every time we thought the Maryland game was going to be close, Penn State killed them. I don't know if these are the same teams as in the years past. It could be. Who knows? I think there were a couple times this year we were surprised when Penn State blew out a team. I don't think anyone thought they were going to beat Auburn by 29 or beat Minnesota by 28 or whatever that was. So we'll see. I do think, though, they have the ability to blow them out if they want to. If they get to that point, I really just think it comes from the offensive line group being comfortable out there and not having a JTT type performance from someone on Maryland, which I don't think would happen. But that's kind of the one thing you worry about, I guess, in this game.
Who's going to do that? Their best defensive player plays for Penn State now, and Chop Robinson, right? So, but yeah, you got Jacobs out, you got Denai Dennis Sutton, also McDonough school kid, right? So just let Chop Robinson and him line up and go at it.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay for that point. So not overly concerned. I didn't think there was too much we had to put into that thought.
Tyler, what do you think?
I got a nice 38-20 Penn State win.
38-20. Same as me. Same.
Garbage time touchdown for Maryland, though. We'll be up big. They'll score on the walk-ons at the end.
You mean run-ons, I think.
Yeah, the run-ons, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we see Drew Aller this game. I think this game
we will.
Maybe eventually. I think they'll get to the point where
there's no reason not to if we're up big.
Yeah, I anything over like 14 in the fourth quarter, I think you see them I think they trust him to be able to move the ball. He did pretty well doing that against Indiana, so I don't think they'll have any problems doing that. My one thing would be if the offensive line's thin and they don't trust these guys, if they would put him out there, I think that's the one thing that might hold them back this week.
They're not going to live in those fears. They're going to play him if they have the chance to.
Yeah. Sean Clifford is 15 yards away from breaking Trace McSorley's career passing record and 116 yards away from 10,000. So, no matter he'll hit both of those this game, right? And then the last two games, maybe
when it happens.
What?
Will Beaver Stadium boom when it happens?
They're gonna announce it like on the.
Exactly. What do you think they're gonna do?
People are gonna boo.
Nobody's gonna boo them, right?
No, I think people are.
The drunk students definitely are.
There's some people that boo him. Yeah.
Let's see. So I wish I knew how many, because it took him so many games, right? But
yeah, but he's still under the pass attempts that Christian Hackenberg had.
That's what I was gonna look. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah. So, yep. So Clifford is 9,884 in 1,262 attempts. Okay, so Hackenberg is 1,235 attempts.
So he just passed
by 27. So I don't know how many he had last game, but yeah. How many games though? Like the number of games is way different, right? And McSorley did 1,215 attempts. So it's like they're not that much different. I mean, Clifford is 7.8 yards per attempt, and McSorley was 8.1. So not terribly different, I guess. Just
would you say 7.1 and 8.1?
7.8 and 8.1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Hackenberg was 6.8.
That's not good. Yikes.
It's still amazing.
Number four was Zach Mills, 7,200 yards and 6.7 yards per attempt.
Yeah, it shows you how little this program threw the ball before Bill O'Brien and Hackenberg got here.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't even try. It's like, everyone talks about Kerry Collins, and he was good. I've watched highlights of those games, but his stats compared to like what is considered good in the present day, it's like people would be booing him, I think, like the way those stats look compared to the elite of the elite today. So just not really a rich passing history here. The running back thing is a different story, but
two of like the most storied quarterbacks in Penn State history, Todd Blackledge and Kerry Collins. Blackledge 51.8 completion percentage, and Kerry Collins is 56.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and Clifford, everybody hates him. He's at 61, right? So that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just funny the perspective there when the game changes, I guess, because when you go to more of a pass first offense, quarterback, all of a sudden his stats matter a little more to people.
Clifford has a better completion percentage than Trace McSorley for his career.
Well, he is the highest of anyone in the program history. He's the highest completion percent, most accurate, highest, whatever you want to say. So,
Drew Aller, 62.8 though. He's beating him.
Yeah,
so.
I hope he beats him. Yeah, that is bad. If 61,
that's
whatever it is. Yeah.
Let's look up Ohio State. You keep talking. I just want
to.
61 is our record.
Stroud's at 70. Well, he was before he went. Whatever the hell he went against Northwestern, it was pretty bad. But he was at like 70% for this year. So their record might be like 68 or something like that.
It's pretty good, though.
And you got to really scroll down. Stroud is 70.8 or 70.4. Yeah. Haskins was 70. Justin Fields was 68. JT Barrett was 63. Troy Smith was 63. Cardale Jones was 62. Pryor was 61. So like you're like 9 guys deep and you're still beating Clifford. And like that's good.
Yeah, that is shows a difference there. That is hopefully something they're looking to change with Aller and then every quarterback after that.
Too, like when Pryor was there, everyone said make them pass and you have a chance at beating Ohio State. That's still our best completion ever. So like
yeah, it's just not a very quarterback rich program. It's kind of been the one that and cornerback have been the two positions where you're like, how come Penn State has never been good here? And Joey Porter is going to be the the highest drafted corner for this program, whether he goes in the first round or the middle of the third round, he's still going to be the highest, which is, I mean, that's crazy in itself too. So yeah, just odd, I guess.
It's all right. So in a few years, we'll turn the quarterback thing too, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, Aller,
that's
and then Bo.
Yeah.
Bo will go probably second round or something like that after his senior year.
I mean, I hope, but
Small like will be after that. It's going to be a factory now. So.
Yeah.
What else? We got a drink? No. What happened to him?
We don't have a drink right now. He keeps freezing. I don't know what his problem is. That's funny. All right, just to kill some more time really quick, I'm going to give him another chance to get back in here. If not, I'll just read it off and we'll go from there.
So kill time. All right. So I saw an article today on Barstool that talked about the Stanford women's basketball coach said, what's her name? Libby Dunn, the LSU gymnast.
Right.
Her getting $2 million a year for NIL sets women's sports back years. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw that, and like the reasoning was just because she was like good looking or whatever, and it's like though, but that was kind of the point. Like NIL, it literally says name, image, likeness.
Yeah, it's her image, right? And
and that's kind of the point. Like I just think it's like bitterness from people who feel like they're better athletes, but they're not getting that, and like I don't know, don't be mad at her, I guess is the way to put it. Like
that's what I think too.
If she's good at marketing herself, like good for her. Like I don't think you should be mad at her. Instead, you should say like, okay, let's see what she's doing and follow it maybe. Like I don't know why that is the problem.
Yeah, because one, it's free market, right? Like she is entitled to make the money that she's allowed to make. And then two, what is her future after gymnastics at LSU? Like
it's usually like you try the Olympics.
Right.
I mean, you try the Olympics and you get sponsorships. Like that's how you get paid. Yeah.
But you can make $1 million or $2 million this year while you're in college. Like go make $1 million or $2 million this year.
Yeah.
I would go make $1 million. Like
I think the anger there is just put in the wrong place.
It's jealousy, right? Like, it's not the NIL is not like the best performers. Like right? It's not the highest score in the NCAA women's basketball.
Right. I mean, look, I think Drew Aller has more NIL deals than Clifford. Like, and so is that fair? I don't know, maybe not. But the truth is, people are the whole point of NIL is like how likable you are. It's not how good at a sport you are, really. Maybe that's fair, maybe it's not. But they're not. It's not a salary from. It's not like a pro sport where they're paying you based off of your performance, really. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Penn State is paying these guys the money based off how they play. It's from outside sources if they like this person or not. Because the whole point of NIL and companies is this person a good spokesman for us? Is it someone we want as like the face of our company or whatever? Well, if she's an attractive gymnast, obviously she's going to get a lot of deals. I just think it is more of a jealousy thing than
I think the one NIL deal that you're guaranteed if like based on performance is getting into the Heisman house if you're an undergrad. Like Bryce Young is on the Nissan commercials right now, right? And that's about it. But I see Libby Dunn on the TV every morning because whatever channel I watch when I wake up, her like sweatpants commercial comes on, and she's not the most dynamic personality. But she does a good job of marketing her sweatpants. There's nothing wrong with that. I turn on CNN in the morning, whatever. She's like, come on.
All right. Well, Tyler's back. So we're gonna run this before something bad happens.
No, let him comment. Let him comment. He wants to comment.
Oh God.
I'm not saying anything.
I didn't say anything wrong.
It wasn't anything bad. No. It wasn't anything bad. All right.
Let's see what Mrs. Nate says.
Yeah. All right, let's get to this.
Here we go.
Got. Yeah.
Tequila Ty's drinking weed.
Yeah.
What's up?
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were saying something. Sorry.
No,
all right, so Tequila sunrise here. It's daylight saving time, so the days are shorter, which means you got to capitalize on all drinking time in the sunlight you can get. So I figured a lot of people are going to get up to their tailgate pretty early in the morning. You always like to start the day with some orange juice, obviously. This just makes it a little more fun. So I go up there, and I know I used before I would say, like, this is how much to put in of each, like 1.5 ounces or 4 ounces, whatever. Come on, we're all going to be drinking. We're just going to be pouring shit. So I say equal parts tequila and orange juice. Keep it interesting. A little dash of grenadine for that color change, and then top it with a cherry just to feel classy. But drink a couple of these, you'll be buzzing, ready to go for the day.
You top it with a maraschino cherry or a regular cherry?
I like the regular cherries.
Okay, good. In that picture, that is a very interesting cherry holder thing there. It's like like something from.
And then the best part is once you get a couple of these in you, you're confident enough to try to tie a cherry stem with your tongue, and you'll press off the ladies at the tailgate.
Great.
What is your tequila of choice?
Oh, this is a hard question. I like Terramana a lot.
Okay, I don't think I've ever had Terramana.
It's good. That or Espolón.
Okay, yeah, we had Espolón. I like that one. And if you're doing something like this, it really doesn't matter, right? It's just if you're drinking tequila. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
never had that conversation. Next week, top 10 tequilas. If we lose to Maryland,
we'll save that for the
save that for what?
The off season.
Yeah.
That'll be an off season podcast discussion.
All right.
Alec has things to do.
No, I don't. I mean, I kind of drag this out.
We haven't talked. Oh, we haven't talked since Saturday night.
Right.
Jordan
Right.
Alvarez three-run over to put the Astros over the top.
Right.
When Kyle Tucker caught Schwarber Castellanos ball in the game, what did you feel? What went through your mind?
I mean, not much. I kind of felt it was over after the home run, so I was kind of over it at that point, honestly. So, yeah. The parade was fun. It was cool. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
2 million people were there apparently. So.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Everybody was drunk, partying. Yes, it was really nice.
I was hammered Saturday. I didn't see a single play of the baseball game. It was 80 degrees in DC in November. How can you not be drinking all that?
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, go Stros. Dusty's back next year, so that'll be good. He's like 85 years old.
Yeah.
And they let Mancini go, so you can have him if you want. You guys need a first baseman to seal Game 5 next year.
Yeah, probably do. Yeah, definitely do. Yeah. Oh well. That's fun. All right. Well,
let's get over this before Alec gets upset.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
I'm good. All right. We'll talk next week. If they win, we're just doing one show. If they lose, we're doing 2. So there'll be a rant, I guess. But yeah, that's
fucking lose Maryland. Chill.
All right. Well, geez. All right. Better not.
Now you got to get the explicit thing on it again.
Nah, it's so late in it. It doesn't even matter. But all right.
Have a great day.